What's going on, guys? I know it's been a minute, but I'm back. See Moody. Hope you guys have been taking care, doing good, prayed up. But I got something I want to talk about. The go. I just like adding that. Okay, man. But good morning to you, man. It is 6:30 where I'm at, and it's a beautiful day. Unfortunately, being on the East Coast, we have that possible threat of Hurricane Dorian. Even though they said it's just probably going up the coastline, we might just get no more than rain. So there's that blessing. You know what I mean? But pray up for the Bahamas because they got hit. And so, but today I want to talk about a dream I had. I've actually had this dream like a number of years ago, but it's always stuck with me just because of its parallels to what I'm dealing with today. And I thought it was a good visual explanation of that. So, in this dream, there was this big snake in my room, and outside in the main room, the den, or however you call your main room, there was a group of people outside. You know, you can hear them talking and laughing, whatever. And so, this snake, I could tell was a dangerous one. You know, I know people say that there's not a dangerous, well, some are dangerous, some aren't. But I felt like, you know, this had the intent to go out this room and go attack everybody. So, lo and behold, that put me in a quarrel and ended up fighting the snake because my thing was trying to prevent the snake from getting out to hurting those people. So, we're in front of my door. I'm trying to, you know, it's trying to wrap around me. I'm trying to kill it, which I don't know how I was trying to kill it because I had no weapons. It was just me like physically trying to ward it off from the door. Like it was like I keep it in my room if I had to, but my goal was to prevent it from hurting other people. And so as we're fighting, you know, we're making noise and stuff. So the people outside start to hear it. So now they're trying to come to the door to see if there's something wrong with me, what's going on. And in retrospect, I don't know why I didn't tell them it was a snake in my room. But, I mean, it was my dream. So, yeah. But while they're trying to, like, open the door, come in, I'm wedged up between the door to stop them from opening the door and to stop the snake from getting out. And so as you hear them like start to pile up and they're beating on the door, asking what's going on, the snake starts doing something weird. It starts shrinking. And it's getting smaller and smaller. And then eventually all I see or all I have now in my hands is this tiny red worm. And as it's finally like becomes this worm, that's when the people come into the room, and now everyone's yelling at me for harming the red worm. Weird, right? But this is what, if you haven't gotten it already, this is what I'm getting. There's things or there's people who are a threat, who are trying to harm you or someone else, and you have that personal battle with them, you know, trying to ward them off from you or from others. But when they get into the public eye, they know how to make themselves instead look like the victim and then make you look like the attacker or make you look like the bad person. That's how I took that dream, because It's a very real situation for me. And honestly, in reflecting in it this last couple of days, I've actually had this happen to me a couple of times in my life that I can remember. One goes as far back as kindergarten. I think it was kindergarten, maybe first grade. I want to say kindergarten though. And I'll never forget it. I don't know why I remember it. I just do. And we were in my kindergarten class, and there was this friend of mine. Well, yeah, I guess he was my friend. I was about to say, because he got me in trouble this certain time. So I was like, I don't know if I call him my friend. But we were supposed to be quiet. It was supposed to be a quiet time, and we were making paper animals or whatever, what have you. And so while we're making it, being quiet, he's trying to take something from me. Like just flat out just trying to take it. So now we're like tugging on whatever it is. And I'm like looking at him like, stop. I'm trying not to talk. And he like has the calmest face ever, which is funny because he's always been a quiet person anyway. So this was like his nature. But he was just like adamant on taking whatever it was. Had no like expression on his face. It was just like, get it. Like he was going to get it. So then I start whispering like, stop, man. Then I finally like kind of raised my voice a little bit, telling him to quit. Teacher totally disregarded the situation. The teacher just knew that I broke that rule of being quiet, and then I got punished. And then I think they took my recess, so I had to sit out for recess that year. Because I remember it was some other people playing, and they decided to just play like around me, and they had this toy iron, and they decided to iron my shirt while I'm sitting there in trouble. So don't know why I remember it. I mean, usually you don't think of. Some people rarely remember stuff that far back. That's like one of the few situations I can remember as far as kindergarten. Next situation, I'm in my 3rd, 4th grade year, and there's this guy who decides to pick a fight with me during recess. He's, pushing, aggravating me or whatever it is. And by the time I finally decide to give into it and fight him, I never forget my hands are around his neck as a teacher comes out and spots me. And now, guess what? I got in trouble because when the teacher came out, his demeanor totally changed. Now he's like crying and yelling, and it's like the teacher comes and it just looks like, I decided to just bully and beat up this guy. And I'm like, no, like he did so and so first. And I don't remember much of what her response was, and I don't know what my punishment was, but I just remember me trying to plead to explain that he started, he came at me, he was trying to bother me and stuff like that. So those are two of like earlier instances. The biggest thing is now, it's just, I won't get into it because I'm not somebody who tries to like bring somebody else down. I don't try to, because there's always multiple sides to a story. And while I try to be as transparent until even when I'm doing wrong, I know that there is that person who becomes the red worm. And I'm not here to try to force people to believe that they're a snake, because so people want to believe that they're a red worm. And I guess that's just the way it is in life sometimes. But it's just a personal situation with a very close family member, and just been very abusive verbally, emotionally. But anytime I try to, in the public eye, they're the most innocent creature that's been ever invented. So I know to a lot of people that they talk to, I am the bad guy. And that part bothers me because, like I said, this is a very personal and very close family member. So from that, the people that they talk to are people that's been impactful in my life that I probably, seen growing up. So for me to just know that there's people who probably see me in a bad light, not because of truth, but because of simply by their perception of me, or how they disclose what they do to instead blurt out, you know, my defense or my reactions or whatever it is. It's sad. And there may be something going on with you, man. Maybe there's a family member or a friend who's like, been very abusive to you, or a relationship who's very, you see it all the time, that there's abusive relationships, but in public, the person looks like a very nice, well put together person, but to you personally, they're very abusive. And it's sometimes hard to get people to see that when all they see, because now what they want to believe is what they've been seeing. And then you being the only one who is having that opposite effect, it makes it seem unbelievable. And it's funny because, growing up, we've always been taught that if you're the only person that sees something a different way and everyone else sees it the opposite way, then it's probably you who's the problem. Like, they're like, well, if everybody's trying to tell you it's one way and you think it's something else, 9 out of 10, by majority rules, you're probably the wrong way. And I thought about that also, and here to bring, I guess, my Christian spiel to it, how damaging that is, or how destructive that can be, because there's plenty of times in Scripture where the majority of the people see one way, but God's brought a messenger to be that one minority to speak against everything. And if we abided by that rule, and even then, the people who didn't listen or didn't believe bought into that rule. But of course, God showed up, and it was like that testimony. Like Jesus, his whole ministry starting off was just like, there's this whole religion that's supposed to be followers of God, the biblical God, but they've already took their perceptive, their men's traditions, and they've corrupted it and tainted it so much. So when Jesus comes, that's why the Pharisees and the scribes are fighting with him so much, because they're a majority, and there's this one guy who's like trying to destroy everything we know. And that one person made a difference. And I always look at, I think 1 Kings or 2 Kings in the Old Testament, there's this king who has all these prophets to kind of like, I guess, predict his outcomes of situations. And it's like 400 of them. And they're all like, they ask him, like, will he be victorious in going into a situation? They all, of course, be like, yes, king, you'll be successful, and all this other stuff. But then he go ask this one prophet that he knows, like, is straight up with him. And he asked him, and at first, he's like, yeah, that's what you want to hear. He's like, no, tell me the truth. He's like, nah, you're not. You actually gonna die. And he's like, immediately like, man, why you just want the worst out of me? He doesn't take it as maybe I should listen to him. He's just like, you're the only one that want to bring me down in all this situation. And we just don't recognize stuff like that. But for you, whoever's going through that problem, whoever's going through that situation, I want you to know, I understand. And I hope by bringing that Christian aspect, if you are a Christian, that it gives you some kind of fresh air in your turmoil that you may be going through, to know that, hey, if you're doing the right thing, and if you're a Christian, you're abiding into that word for what it is, like what you read, not just the man's perception of it, because, even in modern times, we twist this word up really bad. I want you to know I'm praying for you. I want you to know that if you're doing right, man, do right. But do check yourself. Like, I don't say this to be like, I can't be in fault. Like, but I really, in my recent years, like, I really tried to govern myself accordingly. I really try to check myself, and see what's my fault, because I know I've done wrong in a lot of situations in my life, and it really tears me up to know, my things. I'm not the type of person to be like, well, that's just who I am. That's just CJ. Nah. This word God, told me like I gotta change, and so I try my best to abide by this word, and I hope you're doing the same. And I'm sorry for whoever it is or whatever it is that's hurting you personally, and then making you look like the bad guy publicly. It'll get better. And if that situation doesn't get better, it's strengthening you for something. It's making you tougher for something. So just take it. Our pastor said the other week, in situations, man, learn to just try to make it count. Instead of being the type of people, we always want to pray ourselves out of something, not trying to gain a message or gain an understanding through something. So instead, pray to make it count versus pray to get rid of it. So make it count, guys. Once again, man, this is Moody. I'm going to try to be more consistent. I really got a lot of stuff I want to do. I'm really just trying to be proficient with it. I want to be concise and be on point with everything. So that's why there's been a wait. That's why there's been a delay. But when I come, I plan on coming in hard. That sounds weird. Sorry. I plan to be super efficient. I plan to be super consistent. I just want to plan everything out, write it down, so we can go in, we can knock it out. I want to have a time schedule to come in and do this. So, once again, this is Moody. You've been listening to Moody Talk. See you guys next time. Oh yeah, once again, shout out to my boy Random Beats for this beat. It's a good friend, man. Denzel. I'm gonna say his real name because he's my boy. But this is his beat. Alright, y'all.